I spent 24 hours in New York City. How much sewing was I able to accomplish? Also, I had 2 side things to do, taking the majority of my afternoon. And what did I bring along with me to make the process of sewing on the go not only doable, but enjoyable? I arrived at the airport with plenty of time for my flight. Although I normally don't do this for the Asheville airport since it's been a fairly small operation until recently. They are expanding and the parking, well, I was grateful to find a spot in the overflow lot. So I grabbed my bag, made it through security without any issues. I know y'all are so proud. It was not the case on the way back. But after making a pit stop to the ladies' room and filling up my water bottle, seems like really those should cancel each other out. Am I like just crazy? Like, why do I need to empty my bladder and then refill my water bottle? That's just like a terribly inefficient system. I'm not the only one who thinks like that. Anywho, so I found a little spot and I started happily sewing along. It's about 7 a.m. at this point. I've got a handful of smocking projects with me for this trip. I've been sewing on the go now for 15 or so years. I started doing this like in the latter part of my college years. So that's been around 12 or so years now.
Honey, time marches on and eventually you realize it's marching across your face.
But who's counting? With most projects, I like to have a small bag just to keep everything in. So it's just big enough to stash everything in. I want my project in there, and then I also have a pair of hand embroidered scissors. Well, my favorite aren't exactly I don't know if they're classified as hand embroidery. They're travel scissors and they are amazing. They're by Ginger. They are so compact and they have this little cap that fits really nicely on top. It's snug. So there's no worrying about it popping off in your bag and doing some damage to your project. You know what I'm talking about. I love them. I actually forgot these scissors when I was visiting Atlanta earlier this year, and I tried to make do with one of those from the travel kit. I knew better than to buy it, but alas, I bought these stupid overpriced scissors, and really I would have been better off just trying to cut my thread with a rock. Anywho, then I bring along whatever supplies, like whatever fibers I happen to be using, whatever needles, buttons if I'm at the point of needing those. So since I've got all smocking garments, I brought several different floche braids. I love traveling with these things as they maximize the amount of colors you can get within a given space. So that whole like density of colors is high. I feel like there should be like some sort of coefficient for such an important figure, right? Like how many colors can you get in a given unit, like volume of space? And you know, after about 30 minutes, I made some progress on this first garment, and now my plane is starting to board. So I pack up my things, make another pit stop to the little girl's room, and off to New York we went. Technically, New Jersey. I flew into New Jersey, which poses some challenges. Honestly, it's some challenges for me, and I will get into those. So I've made this flight from Asheville to New York a handful of times now. It's an honor getting to do it anytime. I love visiting New York City. And this flight ranges like just about over an hour to about an hour and a half of flight time. I don't know, maybe some days the wind just blows more in your favor, right? Like, or really more in the direction of New York. Anywho, my airplane seat was in the very last row of the plane, and across the aisle was a young lady who was blowing through this book. She started it before the plane took off, and every time I looked up for my sewing, I swear, she was blazing through another 50 pages. I know, I was just like admiring her for her ability to read like that. So the flight there was about an hour and 15 minutes this time, and in that time I was almost able to finish this little shirt during that flight. We landed about 10 a.m. and I transferred this sewing party to the New Jersey Transit thingamabob. It's about 11 a.m. now. I know, unloading that flight took a bit of time, and this train takes you from New Jersey into Manhattan, and it is the hardest part of the trip for me. So I focus one thing at a time. I am usually like pretty good at multitasker, and I am trying to optimize my natural ability to multitask, to do all the things to maximize efficiency and my time and all my stuff, but not now. Right now is one thing at a time, making sure I'm buying the correct ticket for the correct line, going the correct direction, all of that good jazz. And it's helpful to smile a lot, ask for help, like, you know, have those eyes like, please, if somebody is willing to help, please, hi. But I love the folks in New York and New Jersey area. Obviously, I was not raised there. I mean, city life kind of confuses me, like the logistics of it. But I have found folks in New Jersey and New York to be very, very helpful. So thank you. I am only on this New Jersey transit for about 25 minutes, but that is enough time to finish up this little garment. Well, I'm almost done with it. I've got the smocking on the front and back, and she is almost done. But more importantly, I am enjoying myself. I am excited about getting to experience New York again. I am sewing my way through my travels. So, I mean, really, what more could you ask for? So far, I've also gotten to speak to a couple of really neat individuals and just enjoying hearing their stories. It's now about noon when I start off on my journey on those little errands, and it's too early to check into the place where I'm staying, but I just pack lightly. Actually, I didn't even pack a change of clothes for tomorrow. It's kind of a little bit of a funny story, and I will fill you in on those details in a bit. So I walked my way from Grand Central Station all the way to the Lower Manhattan, I think is how it's called on the DL. I know it. I wasn't sure how long it would take me. It was a good, 50 blocks or something. And it had warmed up, so I became, oh my God, wow. One day I will learn to talk. I became. I was a hot mess. I was a little bit of a sweaty mess. And this is when I realized that my one dress idea was not going to be very polite for the poor folks on the plane ride next to me for tomorrow's flight. So that's when I bought my New York dress. It was on clearance and costed less than a carry-on would have cost me. So really a win-win, right? And I will give away my packing system in a bit. But yeah, I walked a good hour and a half, maybe it was 2 hours. So in my infinite wisdom, I took the subway on the way back. But then that required purchasing a subway ticket. And this happened to be at one of those little metro stations like the one I ended up at that just had the kiosk. But no person. So I took a deep breath and I told myself that I could do this. I mean, again, entering into that focus zone. We can do this. I stepped up to bat, and the kiosk gave me 3 choices. To purchase a 1-month-long unlimited pass? No. I might not be a city child, but I definitely knew that was not the one to select. The next was to purchase a day pass. Yeah, I don't know. Finally, a single ride. Yes, that is it. I want just one ride. I literally want just from here back to Central Park. Excellent. So I purchased that. It printed my ticket. Oh my God, I could pass for a city child. I went to swipe my freshly printed ticket, and the thing gave me an ugly beep. It did not allow me through. So I swiped my freshly printed ticket again. And again with the ugly beep. Like, what am I doing wrong? I bought the ticket. I could pass for a city child at this point. So I smiled. I looked around for someone to help. Again, this was an unmanned metro stop. But a nice lady explained to me that when I purchased a single ticket, those only apply for the bus. And that the bus was a pain in the ass to take. So I just wanted to purchase another ticket for the metro. Clearly, she was a city child. So she helped me through the process. Finally, I got on the metro, and at first I thought I should just sit there with my hands in my lap, unoccupied, and listen for my stop. I definitely didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to get lost, had to purchase tickets again, like it's fine. But then the subway started going along, and I was able to hear the announcements through the intercom just fine. And I settled into the rhythm of things, like hearing the announcements, the doors opening, getting the timing, settling down, breathing. I pulled out my stocking and I finished not only the garment from before, but I also started on this sweet little bonnet. It's all about just staying in the moment, right? Staying calm. It's all good. I was only on the subway for about 10 minutes, and it saved me about an hour and a half of walking. Like, there I was in Central Park. Lovely. And sure, the logistics of city travel don't come naturally to me. Okay, that is saying it nicely. It is quite a struggle for me, but I stay focused, stay calm, and keep reassuring myself that I can do this. I ask for help, and I know that it is all going to work out. What's the worst that can happen? I get lost in New York? I will figure it out. People are helpful, and it will all be good. So at this point, I am in Shakespeare's Garden area of Central Park. I'm just taking it all in. I am so grateful for this experience. My husband is at home with our children, and I'm getting to be in Central Park, smocking. Like someone pinched me, right? It's about 4:30 in the afternoon, and I continue to work on that bonnet that I started on the subway, and I've heard several conversations in French, and then a family speaking Italian with their small children. It's one of the very a long list of things I love about New York. Is all the culture, the languages, just the people. And yes, that is a quinceañera. I looked this up yesterday and I wrote it in my notes, and I'm looking at my notes and I still don't know how to say it.
Quinceañera.
I'm sorry. I do my best. It does not come naturally to me to talk. But anyway, that's a quinceañera that you see there. They reassured me over and over again that I was to stay right where I was and just keep sewing along, that I was not in their way. So I kept sewing along merrily and just watched there were a bunch of them, teenage girls in these gorgeous, massive ball gowns just gliding their way through Central Park. It was a rather warm afternoon, and these young ladies were ballers, giving all the attitude to the camera without acknowledging the heat of the day. And then this family from Michigan sat down and explained that their older brother was home. Well, the stepmother of this young man explained how grateful she was that this child was at home, since she didn't think she was going to be able to survive the road trip with him in the car. She went on and on about it, and I asked her if she'd stand up. And I really enjoyed chatting with her. It is so fun how some folks just open up and will talk your ear off in the best way. It's one of the things I love about sewing, like out and about. So sewing becomes the easy conversation starter, like, what are you doing? What on earth are you doing, child? And then once the conversation is flowing, it becomes just a friendly game of tennis, right? So now we're entering about 6 p.m. and I am walking to the YMCA. Why? Why am I walking to the Y? Okay, I'll stop. Because I stayed at the Y. How cool. Check out these windows, the foyer. So fancy. Exactly what you would expect from a YMCA across from Central Park. And this made the trip really inexpensive. It was just over $100 for the night, which included all of their amenities. Had I packed a swimsuit, I would have done that whole number. But since I just packed one bag, I didn't have room for a swimsuit. At least not for a swimsuit that I am willing to wear in public. So, speaking of my packing, here are the contents of my bag. I had my knee brace. I am currently recovering from patellar tendonitis from running too quickly. Who knew that was a thing? Not me. Then there was my water bottle, GoPro supplies for the footage that you're experiencing through this video. I know that little container did all of that. my sewing goodies, headset for listening to podcasts while on the airplane and such, toothpaste, eyebrows, eyelashes, wallet, charger, fork. Yes, you could call that a travel fork. It allows for more options at the grocery store. I know, I'm really fun at parties. Technically, there is a cell phone here, but the battery was not doing life, so it wouldn't hold a charge. So basically, it just turned into something useless to carry around. And then my PJs and fresh undies for the next day. So C, my plan was to just change drawers and then reuse my lemon dress for the next day. That would save, okay, here's the thing. Overhead carry-ons they're no longer free. You have to pay for them. So I'm thinking that would save on packing space. I could just bring this one bag, take that lemon dress, just reuse it for the next day. But then I got all sweaty on my walk to the lower Manhattan. And at that point, my new plan was going to stuff my lemon dress into my bag, because, I mean, on the way home, it can be wrinkled, like, that's fine, we can do. And then I would wear my clearance dress, which was really good. Because unbeknownst to me, after taking the New Jersey Transit out of Manhattan to catch my flight next morning, I found myself boarding the plane, and I was again in the very last row. I got settled into my seat, and I looked across the aisle. Lo and behold, there was the same young lady finishing up her book from yesterday's flight. I asked her how she was enjoying her book, explaining that I think we were on the same flight like yesterday morning, and she said, yeah, I think we were. Weren't you the girl in the lemon dress?